Welcome back, Garish and Meklaresh. In our last session, the two of you decided to go do a favor for the local alchemist and hunt down some bog root and some flowers, some sparial flowers, which are used in the making of healing potions, in which, when you returned, you managed to trade some of your found flora for some fantastic. I'm done with the alliteration there. Some potions. You got some potions. Out while out and about, you got into a scrap with some goblins. Nothing the two of you couldn't handle. As you're now more renowned explorers and have been able to kind of like you finally found your footing, kind of it being adventurers at this point. However, when you returned, you were reminded that the Midsummer Festival is tomorrow or today. As the two of you wake up from a well-earned night's rest, the sun slowly creeping in through your windows, and the day is yours. What would you like to do?
Uh, since we don't have anything to do right away, I am going to sleep in for like a half hour today.
Not a problem.
Very uneventful and doesn't progress the plot. It's great.
Garish is gonna get a nice mug of something.
Problem. When you exit your room and enter into the main chamber of the actual tavern itself, there are blue, green, and white streamers that have been placed and threaded through the different lamps that run along the ceiling. There are numerous candles placed along all the tables. You can see there's a handful of patrons that seem to be working on what appear to be small paper balloons that you can tell with a small basket in the bottom of them. The one closest to the bar, an elderly woman is sitting there, and she's kind of thatching the bottom basket by weaving different strands of grass or some type of dried wood together to kind of create this thatch pattern for the bottom of the paper balloon. She's got a cup of hot tea next to her, but as you approach the bar, the bartender catches your eye. You're up early. You heading over to the lake this evening?
The lake?
Well, that's where the Midsummer Festival's gonna be. Well, most of the festivities here in town are, vendors and, food, that sort of thing. But I guess as travelers, not everyone knows about the festival. Toward the evening, we go and we send out lanterns over the lake. It's been a long-running tradition here.
Where is the lake?
It's southeast. Go down the south road a ways. You probably just follow some of the travelers. Some people head out there early to have some picnics along the lake's edge, but if you go at night, there'll be plenty of travelers headed that way. Plenty of guardsmen, too. Can't be too safe. But if you wanted to pick up some lanterns, there's some being sold in town, or you can make them like most of the locals do. Anyways, what are you having this morning?
All of a cider. Make it hot.
Warm cider coming up. He disappears into the back room. You hear him shouting at somebody. He comes back out and begins to clean and polish the counter and just do his regular thing as you kind of look around. After a few minutes, your warm cider is brought out. It's soothing and it's got that bite to it that you would expect of a very professionally made apple cider.
Thank you. I'll deposit the silver.
It's not a problem. He just like kind of runs his rag over it on the countertop, and the coin disappears in the rag as he just continues to clean and work around the bar. There's
Um,
a long, kind of peaceful moment, Garish, where you think over all the things you've done as a group with Meklaresh, and you think like, this was a good idea. You've made more money than you've made in years in the past just few weeks. And you feel like you're getting stronger and getting more skilled as time goes on. But after a while, time does pass, and Miklaresh, you are alerted as a cat jumps on you. As my
oh
cat
my
jumps on you.
cat.
She's kind of like making biscuits.
I'll give her some chin scratches and I'll just like roll out of bed and get dressed.
It's been about half an hour since you,
Yeah.
yeah, get a little bit more of a nap.
I guess I'll go out to the bar and I'll see Garish sitting at the counter. I'll sit down next to him and just wait for the barkeep. And order myself just some tea and toast for breakfast.
Well, you're better out going to the square. Festival foods are usually pretty good. But if you want some
Uh,
toast, we can oblige.
just something light to get me started.
No problem. He goes and once again disappears in the back. You hear him yelling at somebody or talking loudly at somebody, and then he reappears with some toast. It's a little burnt on one of the edges, but it's toast and a nice warm cup of tea.
I'll also tip a silver.
Again, it just vanishes off the counter as his rag runs over a dirty spot nearby.
I gotta learn how to do that. I'll sort of mutter that while I take a sip of my tea. So, did you want to head out and look at the festival?
Yeah, I can't say I'm not interested.
Well, do you, is there anywhere you'd like to go first? I'm not very familiar with how things work in the city or the festival.
The barkeep says there's stuff happening at the lake later, possibly throughout the day. Mentioned food.
It'd be nice to try some, festival foods. I've heard it's really good, but that's only hearing. It's not tasting.
Maybe we can find some souvenirs as well.
Yeah, that would be nice. I'll take my white candle out of my backpack and be like, and we have these too. I'm not sure what they're for, but we've held on to them for a while and they're supposed to be for this festival.
Just sort of the colors of the festival. The barkeep perks up.
Yeah, we got these as a reward for helping Barker, the general goods purveyor in Briarton.
Oh, you folks were down in Brierson.
Oh yeah, great place. Small little town.
It's a cozy enough town. Not busy enough for me, I don't think.
No, I can't imagine. It's not quite like the big city here.
They're good enough folk.
Do these candles happen to be used in the lanterns?
Yeah, it's generally what they're used for, or decorations. We burn them for light around the festival as well. He kind of gestures over to the tables that have the candles slowly beginning to wax over some of the sides of some of them. But generally, you'd the locals at least will take a colored candle. And they'll make kind of gestures to the old woman sitting behind you that's working on this kind of paper balloon assembly with the wicker basket at the bottom. And no, so they'll make the actual lanterns themselves, and then at night Well, the Lord will be the first one to release a lantern, and then the rest of the town will follow. It's sort of a symbolic thing. I don't think it has something to do with, like, eternal light or something like that. I don't know. I think it's kind of a religious thing.
Hmm. Well, maybe we'll be able to find out more at the festival itself.
Hmm.
Now, what's going on up here?
Were you pinging? Make a perception check as you kind of like look around the bar. Trying to get a bearing for the individuals that are near you.
Right here, like,
You see an older guy, maybe mid 40s. He's got a brown hood on. He's sitting there and he's eating some kind of like a gruel or a slop out of a bowl. He's got a book next to him. Seems to be kind of perusing it. Kind of catches you as like not really interesting, I would say, with an 11. Just another guy.
I'm just munching on my last piece of toast, sipping my tea. Well, I think it would be fun if we made our own lanterns. We could send our candles off and hopefully not disrespect the religion that this is all based off of.
Nah, most people do it in good fun.
Oh, that's good. Do you know if there's somewhere we could buy the supplies we need to make them, or if there's somewhere that they're grown in abundance we could collect?
Want to try check out in the Fang Market. You'd definitely be able to find the supplies you need there, probably for free. Most of the time, they got a big table in the center. And they make lanterns for most of the day. It's a lot of kids,
Oh,
though.
that sounds. Oh, maybe they'll be able to help us.
Possibly.
That sounds fun. What do you think, Garish?
yeah, I was just thinking some.
Notice Garish is like staring around the room.
He's for as long as you've known Garish, you know that he tends to look at people around and kind of assesses the different social situations you're in. And you're not. I would say you can make an insight check to
I
see
like
if you
insight
could
checks.
if you could maybe glean more information. Yeah, I mean you've seen Garish do it a couple times where he just like looks around and is kind of like not paying attention to the conversations that are like in front of him, but like kind of like looking around. You've seen him do that a few times now.
What do you think? Do you want to head over to the square or the Fang Market?
Yeah, not much to do here right now.
Okay. Whenever you're ready.
Bartender nods and goes back to his work behind the counter. And the two of you exit the tavern and begin the small trek towards the Fang Market. As you get closer and closer to the Fang Market, you begin to pick up the smells of sweets and baked goods and savory meats being cooked on open fires outdoors. And you can kind of hear kind of a more jovial atmosphere as you push forward further and further in the streets. And as you get closer and closer, you begin to start slowly past stalls. Some people selling like cloths and silks, and other ones that are selling like small little carved wooden sculptures. There's one that you pass by right at the entrance to the Fang Market. That's selling small, maybe 3-inch high stuffed animals.
Ooh.
And when you get to the market itself, you can see just the kind of crazy fair atmosphere where people are walking around, and you can tell there's people who haven't, maybe other travelers like yourselves who maybe have heard about the festival and come here just for it. There's locals that seem to be in high spirits. You can see children playing games in some booths. You see different market stalls where they're selling all sorts of different types of foods. There's one where you see a guy take some kind of it looks like a conical shaped piece of bread, and he scoops meat. He's scooping like a meat into it, and he hands it out to somebody, and they pay him a couple of coppers, and then your attention is directed to another stall where you see fresh noodles being prepared, being put into like a big boiling pot of stock, and just like the sounds and the smells of the festival are kind of like in full swing. And all throughout the entirety of the Fang Market, there are these blue and green and white streamers that come down poles and are looped around storefronts, and it's just this kind of cacophony of noise and color and just high spirits.
I want to take a look at the vendor stall that just has all those little statues for a minute and just look and see what they have.
The one that's selling the wooden sculptures, or the one that's selling the small plush animals?
The how small were the wooden sculptures?
Some of them are like maybe like an inch high, and other ones are like several feet high.
Okay, I want to look at the small sculptures.
Yeah, you see some that are animals. You see some that appear to be like different toys, maybe made for children, like carved and whittled out of wood over time. You see one that is like a hawk that's perched up on a branch. That one's about 2 inches tall. You see several of them that appear to be like different small woodland creatures. Like you see some squirrels, some rabbits. I think you see a gopher at one of them.
I'm gonna ask how much the hawk is.
No, that would be 4 silver, milady.
All right, I'm gonna take 4 silver out of my pouch and hand it over.
And he graciously hands over the wooden hawk figurine.
All right, and I'm gonna spin around and hold it out to Garish and be like, "A memento for today. Something a happy keepsake."
I'm looking at the stuffed animals booth.
It's
Okay, I'll wait.
yeah. There's what appear to be like they range anywhere from maybe 3 to 4 inches high to maybe about a foot high. The different animals that are kind of like hung up on little like hooks where they've got like little bandings that go over the back of them that you can like hook them up and like hang them on walls. Several of them appear to be fur. You see some that are cloth. You see a couple of them that are made of silk. There are like rabbits, small birds. There's a lot of teddy bears, and there's a lot of them that are like small children's dolls as well. That are like baby dolls, but those are mostly made out of like cloth with like button eyes and that sort of thing. You can tell that a lot of love went into these. They're not expertly made, but they were made with a lot of care and attention to like the quality of them.
Garish doesn't hear Mech and goes to take a closer look at the bears.
Sure, there's several of them on display. They all are they're not like uniform, so it's not like a bunch of like uniform bears in different colors. A lot of them are a little smaller, a little bigger. Some of them appear to have like a more fuzzy exterior. Some of them are just made out of cloth. There's a couple of ones that look to be very cheaply made that are there. That are made of like sackcloth, with some type of stuffing on the interior, to kind of give them a little bit of bounce. They come in all kinds of varieties of colors. There's red ones, there's blue ones, there's green ones. Um, there's more brown ones than any other color, but those are the kind of colors that stand out to you.
Are there any green sackcloth bears?
Um, yes, there is one.
How much for that?
The old lady looks up at you. Oh, that one. That one is 2 copper pieces.
I will place 4 copper pieces.
Oh, thank you, kind sir. And she kind of like looks behind you for a second and waves to get the attention of someone, and you turn and there's a little girl standing behind you, kind of wearing a more simple kind of tan and brown, just like kind of like a sundress. You can see it's got like a kind of floral pattern on it, and the old lady kind of like beckons her come closer, and the girl kind of like sneaks past you, and she reaches up and grabs another bear and hands it to the girl and says, "This man got it for you."
Oh,
And the little girl like looks at the bear, and then she looks up at you, and she just like kind of hugs your leg, and then she just runs off into the crowd. The little old lady kind of smiles at you and then turns and gets the attention of a different customer.
all done. I'm gonna walk up to Garrus now and be like, all done shopping?
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna take out the little hawk statue from behind my back and be like, I got this for you as a memento for today.
Oh, looks nice.
Oh yeah, I just, it seemed you.
Do you want this bear?
I'm okay. I just figured, I wanted to repay you for all the times you've helped me.
Its eyes are little blue buttons.
The bears?
Mm-hmm.
I was gonna say, the hawk statue? That's kind of weird.
No, the bears. It's green sackcloth, little blue button eyes, and it's got a stitched on pink nose, and a like black line of like yarn in a big smile.
Precious. I'll name him Tom.
It is very cute.
The festival is still in full swing. If there's anything else you guys would like to do.
I'd like to sit down at the craft making table if I could find that. I'd like to try and make a lantern.
Yeah, kind of looking around and kind of like seeing through some of the pieces of the crowd, you can see there's a big long table that's been placed in the center of the Fang Market, and you can see kids, some teenagers, some adults that are sitting around the table. It's mostly kids that are kind of sitting there and working on the little lanterns.
Hmm. Yeah, I'd like to sit down and try and just make one really quickly. I'm not sure what skill I might need to use.
Well, let me look at your character sheet.
I mean, I feel like if it's close to basket weaving, I may have done that growing up.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking. You can make a survival check with advantage, I would say, if you're not trying to get any aid and you're not trying to ask anyone for help.
Yeah, I just want to see if I can do it first.
Yeah, no problem. You used to weave baskets and different sacks and stuff growing up, so you're pretty practiced with this sort of thing. The paper part of the lantern gives you a little bit of trouble, but for the most part, like you feel like you've made a pretty sizable lantern.
I'm just gonna be like, ta-da!
Yeah, there's a
Nice.
there's a little boy sitting next to you. He's having a hard time like trying to figure
Oh.
out like what to do.
I would like to help him.
Yeah. So you lean over and you like kind of like help him and show him how to do it, and and the woman across from you at the table, she's got a red scarf over her, pulling her hair back, and a kind of brown and white outfit that's kind of like made for this day. And you can see there's a fake flower, like a cloth flower, on her like coat pocket that's got green and blue and white petals in this kind of cloth flower. And she smiles and she says, well, thank the Lady Gregory. Thank you, ma'am.
Oh, you're welcome, Gregory. Garrus, you should build one too.
Can you show me how to do that?
I can help. Yes.
I would say with your previous role, it's not difficult for you to make an identical suitable paper lantern for Garish with a small weaved basket.
I could make one for Garrus, but I feel like Garrus would learn something by making it on his own and me helping.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like with your
Okay.
help, Garish has no problem doing it. No further role required. The first role was to see if you've done this sort of thing before.
Gotcha.
So,
Garish knows how to follow instructions.
yeah, that he does. But the paper lanterns kind of collapse in, so they create like this small box that you can carry around with you until tonight.
Okay, awesome. I guess I want to go try some festival food.
Absolutely.
What smells the most delicious to me?
I mean, there are smells assaulting you from every angle. There's sweet cakes and different pies and different types of chili that are being cooked up in large pots, and all like spiced meats, and you see like big hunks of like some type of an animal's leg, maybe like a turkey or a lamb or something that people are carrying around and kind of biting on as they go booth to booth looking at the different stores that are on sale. Nearby you, there appears to be some sort of a game, like a booth, and people are kind of taking these small bits of sackcloth that are kind of wound up into a ball and trying to like throw it through these hoops that are probably maybe like 10 feet away from them.
I definitely want to go get a turkey leg. Or whatever leg. It's very... Yes, need one of those.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try and track down that stall.
Yeah, make an investigation check with advantage because you can kind of see like the direction that guy was passing you and coming from. Yeah, without a problem, like you look down the way and like look through the crowd and you see a guy like hand somebody else one of those big honkin' turkey legs, things like maybe like 1.5 feet long.
Oh wow. I'm gonna get in line and wait for my turn. And then when I get to the front, I'm just gonna be like, how much?
No, it's three copper pieces.
I will definitely buy one of those, and I'll hand over 4 copper pieces.
Nah, you're quite generous. Thank you.
You're
He
welcome.
takes them from you, hands you your turkey leg. There's a bit of like waxed paper that's wrapped around the haunch of it for you. He takes the coins, slides them off, and drops them in a small box on the side, and then gets the customer behind you.
What is Garish gonna eat?
Looking at some pies.
Yeah, you see, actually, the stall right next to the stall that Meckleresh is at, they have, you can see, like, they're selling them by the slice, not by the whole pie. But they have smaller pies that are, like, single-serving pies, and those have labels. There's one that's beef, rabbit, cherry, apple, ochi is another one. Yeah, so those are the pies that they have in that stall.
I'm gonna see if I can get a rabbit and a cherry pie.
That's not a problem, sir. Slice of cherry and small rabbit pie?
Yep.
Sure, that'll just come to 1 silver piece.
I'll deposit the silver.
Thank you very much, sir. And they take it and they put it in a similar box as the stall next door, and they hand you a slice of pie that's been kind of wrapped in this like wax paper, and they hand you the small tin that has the rabbit pie in it. as well as some utensils, I guess. So there would probably be like wooden disposable utensils. Enjoy.
Well, I guess you have to. I'll walk up to Garish since I got my food first and be like, I guess you have to sit down to eat yours. Uh, where'd you like to sit? We can just find somewhere off the way.
Garish is already managing to eat the rabbit pie.
Stand up.
Like the cherry pie slice was wrapped in wax paper, so he could take it and like put it in his like a belt pouch or something, and then eat the rabbit
okay.
pie.
Well, he has the cherry slice cupped in his hands, and rabbit pie on top of his fingers.
Okay, I got you. Yeah, that makes sense. It's quite good. It's like spiced rabbit. There's some peas in it as well.
Yeah, I'm just eating my giant turkey leg like a barbarian.
Yeah. Oh, it's good. Like you bite it and like it's like juices like drip out of the where you bit it and like are slowly rolling down and mingling with your the parchment paper on the bottom.
Oh, it's so good.
Both of your lunches are excellent, I must say. They taste extraordinary, and there's a small part of you that wonders if this would taste as good if you were anywhere else with the same thing. But because of the atmosphere and the positive vibes that are kind of flowing through and just kind of like immersing through the space, like it feels really good and everything tastes really good. It seems like a very happy day.
I guess I want to just like while I'm eating, I want to like just look at the game and see what the people are playing for, what prizes there are, how many of them are succeeding.
Uh, so give me a perception check as you kind of like are watching it as you eat and like just kind of watching the different people play.
Sorry, that was a perception check.
Yep, perception. Okay. For as simple as the game is, where they're throwing this kind of sack ball into these small ringed hoops on the other side, a lot of people aren't doing it very well. It actually almost seems deceptively hard. But you do watch one person successfully throw the ball into the rings 3 times in a row, and they're awarded with this small wooden like bracelet that has kind of stripes of blue and white and green that kind of flow through it. And you do notice they're paying 1 copper piece per play.
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna get in line to play.
Okay.
Once I've like eaten enough of my turkey and discarded of its.
Yeah. There's disposals for the garbage and stuff that people are keeping, and you see plenty of them around. So
People aren't just whipping it onto the rooftops.
ah, welcome. It's 1 copper piece for the amazing toss.
I'm going to pay for a game right away just to see what it's all about, and we'll see if I play more.
Not a problem. The rules are very simple. You have this ball here, and he hands you the small, kind of squishy sack ball. It's got like you can't compress it very much, but it definitely has some give to it when you pick it up. All you must do is you must throw the ball through the rings 3 times in 5 throws.
Oh, that seems pretty easy. I guess I'll give it a shot.
Not a problem. Go ahead and make your first attempt. So go ahead and make a ranged attack roll.
Oh,
I don't know if you have that on your sheet.
Yeah, I don't.
So you're not proficient with this weapon, so you can just click the word dexterity on your character sheet, and that will be inaccurate to the throw. So the first throw, you sink it, no problem. Goes straight through the center ring, which was also the smallest of the 3 rings. Now that you're really looking at it, you can tell that like the smallest ring is closer, and the 2 bigger rings are a little further away. Well done,
Right.
well done.
Yay! Alright, second throw coming up.
This one goes a little wide, and you hit the wooden the wooden exterior of one of the rings, and the ball bounces off and rolls. The guy leans over and picks it up. Oh, too bad. Another try. He hands it back to you.
All right, toss number 3.
Once again, you just can't quite line up the throw again. Yeah, this time it misses the ring entirely and sails just past and falls into this wooden backboard that rolls it back down toward the guy. He picks it up and hands it back to you.
All right.
2 more throws.
This is my last shot.
With the pressure rising, you throw and manage to once again make it through one of the 3 rings.
All right, I'm getting real serious now. Like, I'm like doing like the, like, calming myself and getting ready to wind up for this pitch.
And you are just short as it bounces off the wooden rod that's holding up the rings, and it falls down to the ground. Oh, what a valiant performance by you today, lady. And he picks the ball up. Would you like to have another go?
I'll give it one more try.
One more try for the lady. He hands the ball back to you in exchange for a copper piece.
Copper piece. Yep. All right, here we go. I'm just gonna rapid fire these.
It's a miss. That's a miss. And a success. A miss.
Oh, shame.
So,
I'll just throw my last one. Yeah.
Yeah. Unfortunately, your first attempt seemed to be more valiant than your second. Another go.
Well, you can't win all. I think I'm okay for now.
Not a
Would
problem.
you like to play?
I may be proficient at throwing things, but this is your battle.
Oh, I've done this battle. This battle is over.
There are other games and things that are kind of going along and along the outskirts that are kind of similar in vein, tests of skill or intelligence.
Yeah, I'll walk around and look at more games. We're trying to kill some time before nightfall. Is there anything that's really drawing like a crowd of people?
Yeah, there's a large crowd of people around what appears to be a strongman game, where you take the mallet and you slam it down and try to make the thing reach the top.
I'm gonna like elbow Garish and be like, that seems right up your alley.
He was just looking for some feats of strength.
You also see some people arm wrestling. The guy who's taking the coin is huge. Like, super jacked as well. So you have 2 options there if you're looking for feats of strength.
I'm gonna start with the hammer thing.
Sure, not a problem. Ah, welcome, young sir. 1 copper piece per play. Ring the bell at the top. Win a prize.
I'll toss a coin and approach the bell.
You see, there's a mallet sitting next to the bell. Or sitting next to the plank that you need to smash down. Give it all you've got. Go ahead and make a... I'm trying to think if you have any melee weapons on your thing. Because you're proficient with hammers, so... go ahead and make a... You're going to roll an attack roll with your rapier. And we'll just use the result of that as your roll.
I'm gonna imagine I'm activating Horde Breaker as I swing the hammer.
Yeah. You swing the hammer down with all of your might, and you miss.
Ooh.
Ooh. Once more, sir. This time, frustrated and a little angry of your small mistake in your aim, you right yourself, plant your feet in the correct position, and then bring it down with all of your might, your muscles screaming in protest from how much force you're putting behind it. You slam the hammer down, and the bell goes straight up. Ding! We have ourselves a winner, ladies and gentlemen! And the crowd around you applauds.
That's what a practice swing gets you.
I shouldn't have given you the other swing for free. However, you've won a prize. Please, take your pick. And he kind of gestures over, and you see several small stone statues, as well as bits of simple jewelry. Some of it appears to be made out of iron, like you see some small iron rings. There's a small iron chain. As well, you can also see a handful of clearly fake gemstones, like they're polished glass as well. They're not like he's not advertising this as like really fabulous prizes, but like you get a prize if you win. So
Toss another copper and take an iron ring.
he catches the copper. Thank you, sir. Thank you. And then he turns his attention into the gruff guy behind you. And as you step away, you watch the guy turn and swing, and it doesn't even go halfway up the pole. Though all of you are walking around and gawking at stalls, it's beginning to be later afternoon, as the two of you did sleep in a little later than normal, just because there wasn't anything really pressing. So a couple hours of sleep came to you. You did awake kind of at the height of the festival. But you notice that people are slowly beginning to kind of trickle out of the main square. There's still a sizable crowd here because the sun's not setting quite yet. But it is starting to get a little later.
Do you want to head to the lake? You know, we could find a good spot, watch everything.
I'm gonna look at the sky for a bit and agree.
Yeah, we're gonna go try and find a good spot at the lake to watch the whole thing go down.
Sure. The two of you make your way from the Fang Market and head southward to the South Gate. And exiting the South Gate, you aren't checked in any way as you exit through the gate. And you do notice that there's guards, maybe about one every 25 feet outside the gate, kind of corralling the folk toward the river, toward the lake, not the river, toward the lake, to like at the southeast of the town. There's kind of a moment where Mekhlaresh goes, "Oh, that's where the lake went, or that's where the river went."
Yeah, I was just about to ask. How likely would it be that the waterway connects? Because I'm having immediate concerns about a goblin attack on all these people in the middle of the festival now.
Well, looking around, there are a lot of guardsmen just on the way there.
Yeah.
You can tell that, like, not only are there guardsmen, there are also just armed people moving about.
Other mercenaries like us, I assume, or adventurers.
Give me a perception check as you kind of like look at them, like some of the other people that are kind of standing about. You see one standing with a guard. Your guess, looking them over, their attire, they don't look like haggard adventurers. They maybe look like townsfolk who may be paid to help keep the peace for this.
I'm still going to be on the lookout for any sort of goblin-y shenanigans.
I would say, with your experience with them so far, while you are remaining vigilant, you know that goblins are not the type to attack a large group of people. They are mostly ambushers and will ambush small caravans and small traveling groups. At least that's been your experience with them so far, in the times that you've encountered them. For example, there are goblins in the mountains where your people are from, where you're from, but you never had a problem with them because your people stayed together.
Except for me. Okay. It's just these goblins are organized under
Correct.
higher creatures and whatnot, so
But
I'm a little
yeah.
concerned.
I'll keep your perception check in mind for anything that might occur. And we'll hold that natural 20 for a little while.
Okay.
That takes the better part of about half an hour, and you see there's some people who are camped out near the glowing green lanterns along the roadside as well. Some of them having picnics, other of them just lounging. There's, you see several children that are kind of running around and playing in the grassy fields. And as you get further and further into the woods, you see less people kind of like hanging out at the outskirts, and there's just more of a crowd kind of pushing through towards where the lake proper is.
Yeah, we'll join the crowd.
When you, like I said, after about maybe about half an hour of travel from the south gate, the trees eventually break, and you see this huge lake. You can't see the other side of the lake, but you can kind of see how it kind of curves off to the right-hand side. But it's not like infinitely expansive. Your knowledge of this area does not include this lake, and that leads you to believe that it's not incredibly massive, maybe only a couple of miles across. And again, this is because of your background.
Yeah.
I would say with your natural 20 on your perception check, kind of on the way here, keeping an eye out and everything, you do notice on the kind of left-hand side of the lake, you see a small tower that appears to be either... You see a small tower kind of jutting out of the trees, maybe just a little bit above the trees on the edge of the lake, and you see a dock coming off that side. But most people are staying right here, where you guys first emerged from the trees, and there's several guardsmen on the outskirts that are just kind of talking and chatting with locals. There's several more vendors who have kind of like set up small ramshackle stalls here. Some people are trying to sell goods on just blankets they've laid out on the grass. But it just seems like people are talking and chatting. And you see a small crowd of children who are all kind of surrounding this elderly woman who's sitting there reading a small book to them, maybe about 100 feet off on the right-hand side. But you kind of are caught for a moment when you finally break through the tree line. You see all these people and the kind of calmness of the lake, the small, slow ripples in the water and the sun kind of catching on them, just kind of as you break through the tree line.
Is there anyone selling like food to eat?
Yeah, there's plenty of vendors and stalls out here. Not quite as extravagant as some of the stalls that were in the Thang Market, but you see people selling breads and meats, and there's people selling like small sandwiches that are a combination of those things. There's some people selling some fresh vegetables, some fresh fruit, that sort of thing. So it's more like kind of like a farmer's market vibe here than in the market where it was like a fair or like a carnival.
Yeah, I'll just go buy like some fresh fruit.
Yeah, no problem. It'll just be a couple copper, so you just mark those off.
Yeah, just something to snack on.
Mm-hmm.
Garish, did you want to do anything? Or just we're sitting around waiting for the festivities to begin?
I'm admiring the lake.
Yeah, as you kind of like look out, you also notice that small tower off the left-hand side, and a dock that comes off of it. And as you kind of like watch the gaze in the expanse of the water, you can see a couple of boats just barely on like the horizon line, kind of almost around that bend where the lake kind of bends off to the right. But it looks like they're coming in. It doesn't look like they're going out.
Does the tower look decrepit in any way, or does it look maintained?
I would say with your earlier perception check, it looks pretty well maintained. You can see the top of the tower almost has a like kind of a bell tower feel to it, where like it's a large open space with arches at the top. And the more you kind of like look at it and kind of like squint and look, you can almost see what appears to be like a brazier in the center of that like open space. But it's pretty far off. It's maybe, I would say if you were to walk there, maybe like a 5 to 10 minute walk.
Okay.
And the tree line's not super thick next to the lake. Like you can see pretty well through the tree line here. It's just like further back away from the lake where the trees get thicker. You see all sorts of people talking and chatting. Some loners that are just kind of like sitting. There's some elderly folk who are sitting on chairs just chatting and looking out at the lake, kind of like Garish is. Several appears to be tables with long benches that have been set up. Handful of people eating some light meals there. People who are lounging in the grass. It's a lot more of a temperate atmosphere than in the center of town. Anything you guys would like to do?
No, I think we're just waiting for everything to begin now.
Okay. As the two of you relax, take in the sights, the sun slowly begins to set, and more people begin to eventually join, and the kind of volume of this area slowly begins to grow over time as people begin talking over one another. There's probably like 200 people out here at this point. And kind of just waiting for something to happen, you hear a horn blow from the path leading toward the lake. And the crowd kind of like parts. And you see what appear to be like maybe a group of noblemen being flanked by knights in impressive full plate armor. One of them has a rapier on their belt. They're a smaller figure. The other figure in full plate armor has a greatsword, an enormous greatsword, I might add. And they're kind of flanking this individual. I would say probably Meklaresh would be able to roll a perception here based on your arcane knowledge. Okay. I would say you might notice this. I don't think Garish would notice this. 13. I would say with a 13, you notice as the group of them gets kind of closer, you notice one of the lamps, the glowing green floating lamps that are on the path, that are nearby to the group of them. When the group passes by, you notice the lamp dims slightly, and then when they pass, it goes back to its full glow.
That's when it passes me?
No, whenever the group passes the lantern. Like, the lantern's off on their left-hand side, and as they pass by it, you watch it dim slightly, and then light back up.
And those are the, like, anti-monster lanterns that are on the King's Road.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
But you do notice that there's a group of what appears to be 4 noblemen there, and 2 ladies, as well as a young girl, maybe your best guess would be 5 or 6, wearing a pink dress with another one of those cloth flowers with the different blue and white and green in it, kind of adorning the entire thing. And she kind of skips ahead of the guardsmen and is like, you can't hear them because you're a little ways off, closer toward the lakeside, but you do see her like stop and turn and like beckon everybody hurry up. And the man who appears to be leading the noblemen, not the knights, but the man who seems to be like higher up status based on his dress, has a kind of almost a mane of hair that kind of falls around his head. It's very well kept, and it kind of falls down with this large, thick, well kept beard that goes down to about mid chest on him. He seems to be leading the others, and in his hands you see a box not too dissimilar from yours, but instead of it being kind of the brown and tan of the different colors and papers you were working with, this box is kind of a stark white. Like it's white, white.
Very like it's made out of high-end materials.
Yeah, like if you were to guess, that's not made of paper. You think it might be made of like silk.
Wow. Rich people, huh?
Could be the Lord.
That's kind of what I'm thinking. I mean, the pieces add up.
After a few moments, the cavalcade goes to the beginning, and people around you begin to unpack their lanterns.
I will follow suit.
There's a gentleman in the back. You see, you don't notice him stand up, but you do notice flames immediately appear in front of him, and sort of this glowing ball of fire that he suspends between his hands as he slowly turns them in place. And several different people run up and light their candles, and then they begin to run through the crowd and light everyone else's candles as well.
I'll fish out my candle.
There's sort of like the atmosphere now is very excited and very loud. You hear some of the kids that are nearby when the guy created the kind of orb of fire. They're like, "Whoa, that's super cool! I want to do that."
Me too, kids.
But eventually, people have their lanterns kind of pulled out and ready, and the kind of group of sorry, brain shut off. The group of noblemen who go up to the front. The kind of more regal-looking guy with the huge beard. The little girl runs up to him and like tugs on his pant leg, and like reaches up towards the box he's carrying, and he smiles and he scoops her up in his arms, and he hands her the box as he's holding her in his arms. And she takes it, and she like is like messing with it, and he, with his other hand he helps her, and she unlatches it, and he pulls out a small candle out of his pack and sets it inside. After getting a light from one of the guardsmen that are nearby, and he takes it and he puts it inside the lantern and hands it to her. And as you see the silk cloth of the lantern slowly expand and contract, she's just kind of holding onto it, and he nods to her, and she lets it go. And it's floating there, and floats up higher and higher, alone. And then the townspeople slowly begin to release theirs one by one, joining in with this lantern that slowly float up above the lake. And you watch, in the reflection of the water, all the small flames that appear from the different floating lanterns.
Okay, I'm gonna let mine go too.
You watch your lantern for a little while, floating up among the others until eventually you lose sight of it amidst all of the different kind of swirling and different flames and that are flickering and releasing this beautiful cacophony into the night sky of all these twinkling stars that have been released by the townspeople. And you hear the oohs and the ahs, lots of them from small children. And everyone's eyes seem to be locked on to the lanterns in the sky.
It's very pretty. It doesn't seem like much of it. I'm just gonna whisper to Garrett. She doesn't seem very religious. It's just very pretty.
Well, it could have meaning to some people.
That's true. I guess we'll just watch the lanterns for a while.
Some people slowly start filing out. Some people started leaving as soon as the first lanterns were released. They kind of let their lantern go and then went on. And you kind of get the feeling this is a lot of this is like for the children and for like the young folks. This kind of like beautiful spectacle. But you can tell that there are some people who aren't from around here that are just as marveled with it as you are. This is something you've never seen in your entire life before. All these small flickering flames and the reflection in the water, and the kind of sea of darkness that spreads on beyond when the sun finally set. But slowly but surely, people begin to leave, and after a while, the noble entourage noticeably begins to pack up, and you hear protests from the little girl. She doesn't want to go yet, and the older gentleman says something, but you can't quite catch it. But eventually, they turn to leave, and the commotion from the little girl causes you, Mekleresh, to like kind of look over at them to like watch this display happen. And eventually they turn and go, and right as you're about to turn your eyes back towards the lights, something catches your attention. As the entourage of noblemen pass through the crowd, a figure standing in the crowd who looked completely normal, someone you never would have looked at in a million years, an older gentleman, maybe mid-40s, wearing brown hooded cloak, suddenly isn't a gentleman in his mid-40s wearing a brown cloak. There's a blue dragonborn with a large burn scar in the shape of a C around her right eye. And while it looked like the gentleman was holding his side as he was watching the crowd, you now notice that it is not his side that was being held. It was a blade on their belt.
Okay.
And they watched... Hold on. You notice them look up, or they look at the entourage, and then they look down and hold up their offhand that's not on their sword. And they kind of grimace for a moment, as if they realize they've been spotted, and begin to retreat into the darkness of the trees.
Tap on Garish's shoulder and be like, I just saw two.
Garish immediately snaps around.
I'm going to point in the direction, and I'm going to start making my way that direction.
You see the figure quickly making their way through the darkness of the trees away from the crowd.
Oh, I am in hot pursuit.
I'll keep pace.
Sitting neck and neck, chasing a dark figure in a blanket of darkness through the woods. I'm gonna need you all to give me survival checks to see if you can manage to maintain chase. I would say with a 16 and a 12, just barely good enough. She seems to be making her way around the eastern side of the lake, keeping in the darkness of the tree cover, heading towards that tower that was kind of out in the middle of the woods. And you are slowly gaining on her, surprisingly, with your check. But you do notice her look back a few times and realize that she's being chased.
How far away from her are we?
I would say with your head start, you're probably... with her head start, she's probably... I would say maybe like 60, 70 feet away from you. No, I'm sorry. You're about 200 feet back.
Okay.
But you're almost to the tower.
So she's gone into the tower? Or
No, she's almost there. And you notice that as you get... Okay, so let me give you a better frame of reference. So the two of you catch up to her, and you're about 200 feet back. As you catch up and get to that 200-foot mark, the tree line opens, and there's a large circular kind of field that's built around a statue in front of the tower. There's a small lit light in front of the statue that's glowing and slowly pulsing, and she's booking it straight towards the tower's door.
Could I make out what the statue is?
It appears to be a humanoid figure. Since it's the only light you can see, I would say you probably, other than the lights that are off in the distance over the lake, it's a humanoid figure. Appears to be holding some sort of a wooden maul, like a big hammer, kind of like Garish has. Different in design, much bigger, and it appears to be sort of ornamental. The statue is rather plain for being something that appears to be very out of the ordinary. You can see runes that are carved around the base of the statue itself. It's about 12 feet high off the ground if you include the small dais that it's on. But she as you guys are slowly gaining, she actually passes right past the statue, and you guys are maybe like 60 feet behind her.
All right, and she's going into the tower.
She's headed that way. She's headed towards the door of the tower.
Okay. Garish, do we just keep pace? We want to catch her in the tower, right?
Yes.
All right, that's what we're doing. We're also going to make our way past the statue.
Well, the statue's pretty close to the tower door. I would note. But right before she walks in the door, she spins around and raises up her hand. I would love for you both to roll initiative. So that is a 19. Garish. 16. 2. 6. For mech. Phenomenal. Garish, you cannot be surprised, but you spent your movement getting to where you are now on the map. You still have your action, and you can choose to dash closer to her if you want.
I will prepare a dodge.
Okay, you are dodging. She is going to cast slow. Go ahead, and both of you need to make wisdom saving throws. You are both slowed.
Oh.
Dodge doesn't affect a spell like this.
It does not.
No.
Yeah. So what this means is you get a -2 penalty to your armor class and dexterity saving throws, and you can only use an action or a bonus action, not both.
Mage armor on while we were running through the woods.
I would say you can have your mage armor up.
Okay, cool. Boop.
If you'd like to spend the spell slot for that.
Yes. When I saw 2 and we started chasing her, I would probably do that.
I would say that you're Necroless, you're not surprised, but you did use your movement to get as far as you did.
Yeah.
But you are not surprised, because you knew at any moment she could have turned. She is concentrating on that.
And is the distance between Garish and I what we were? Or were we like side by side?
That's up to you. If you like to be side by side, I can move you up. Or you can
It
move
doesn't
up.
matter.
I figured that Garish would probably be a little bit ahead of you.
Yeah. The spell I was thinking of is self only. I was going to expeditious retreat Garish.
What's your action? You can only use an action or a bonus action, not both. However, if you attempt to cast a spell, then we're going to see if it happens now or next turn.
Oh, okay. Oh, jeez. Yeah, we're just gonna try and cast magic missile.
Okay. Go ahead and just roll a d20 for me. So it seems that the slow spell has halted your advance for your magic missile. However, you are still mid-incantation. So you are considered concentrating on it, and it will go off on your next turn as your action. So we will get back to you when that happens.
Since it's the end of my is this a surprise round?
No, this is your turn.
Okay, so do I get to make my wisdom saving throw for slow now?
Yes.
Did Garish make his?
That was my turn. Was before twos.
Yeah.
Okay.
14 does save from the slow spell.
Cool.
But your spell will still go off next turn.
All right.
You are
That's
no
all I've
longer
got.
slowed. Garish, it is your action.
Since 2 hasn't done anything deadly yet, I'm just gonna throw a ball bearing at her to try to break concentration.
Okay. Go ahead and make a range attack roll, as you would with any of your weapons, to see if you can hit her with the ball bearing.
Does the slow penalty to dexterity?
No,
Like
it's
this?
your saving throws.
That was the wrong button. Oh wait, no.
Yeah, no, that's right. So you throw the ball bearing, and it just as you throw it, and it makes contact with her, but it just kind of slinks off of these shadows that bat it away. You see her kind of shake her head at you. You still have your movement remaining.
Move up. And now I do another wisdom saving throw.
Yeah, at the end of your turn. See if you can recover from the slow. You recover from the slow. You are no longer slowed. I was hoping that would be more effective, but damn it, you guys rolled high. Okay. So that will bring us to Two's turn. She is going to draw the sword on her belt. And as she does, there is a almost white and violet colored glow that emanates from the blade that seems to kind of stark off in different directions as she draws it from her belt. However, she is going to cast Eldritch Blast.
Ooh.
You can ignore the first line there. Garish, your armor class is 18, I believe.
Yes.
Okay, so the first Eldritch Blast goes wide and zips past both you and Meklaresh. However, the second Eldritch Blast will strike you, take 5 points of force damage. I need to uncheck that box before I forget. And as it strikes you, the blast curls around you like a tendril. And she rips her hand back after the blast, and it pulls you forward towards her 10 feet. And then she will step here with the rest of her turn. Just need to keep concentration on that anymore. And that will bring us to Meklaresh's turn.
Okay, so the spell I fired off last turn, does that go off now?
Yes. So
Before my turn starts?
No.
Do I
It
still have
is
my-
your action if you would like to finish casting the spell.
That's kind of a rip off.
Yeah. That's a slow sucks. But you can choose to drop concentration, lose the spell slot, and do something else if you don't want to fire a magic missile.
No, I'll continue to fire it. No sense wasting the spell slot.
Go ahead and roll damage. That is 20 points. Christ. The necklace glows as it imbues your missiles with a radiant, powerful energy that zips forward and slams into her, and she curses at you.
And with that, just let me...
What language does she curse in?
Oh, good idea. Yeah.
Common.
Okay.
You will pay for that.
I'm going to run up and hide behind Garish.
Which brings us to Garish's turn.
So being told has made Garish suspicious. So instead of moving forward, he's going to just attack with his crossbow.
Sure, go ahead and fire. Uh, 18 is definitely enough to hit as it grazes along her side and leaves a wide open gash for 3 more points of damage. Let's see what else she can do. So as the crossbow bolt strikes, there is a... You watch as she flicks her wrist, and there is a plume of fire that slashes out of the wound and fires toward you. Make a dexterity saving throw, please. Take 7 points of fire damage from the flame that lashed out at you.
My turn.
Okay. I see. You want to play tricks. I'll play tricks. She snaps her fingers and vanishes.
I would to listen very intently to see if I can hear footsteps moving.
Make a perception check. It'll be your bonus action to do so. You hear footsteps moving around here, but you're not sure where.
I don't have any of my fancy target area spells.
As you're thinking of what to do, you hear a whisper crawl into your mind. What now? I thought we were friends.
It was like here and here?
You just in that general area.
Yeah. Just need to look at one thing.
But with the 11, you cannot pinpoint the exact area. You just know she might be over there somewhere.
Jeez. Just so did it sound like her?
The voice in your head?
Like,
yes.
Yeah.
It didn't emanate from anywhere. It sounded like it was all around you and inside your head. Garish did not hear it.
Did she end her turn? Is it my turn now?
It is your turn.
Okay, I'm going to cast Dragon's Breath on myself. Give myself some lightning breath.
Okay.
And I'm going to move here. And then in just like this cone.
That is your affected cone?
Yep.
Okay. Let's go ahead and roll damage.
Did we make a button for that? Nope. Rolled 3d6.
We did not make a button for it because it's one of those things you're going to have to do basically all the time.
Yep.
I don't think invisibility breaks when you take damage.
No, I think it
No,
only
it does not.
said when
Yeah.
you cast a spell or take an action.
Okay, so that will
Which
do...
is why I was like... Okay. Attacks or cast a spell, which is why I was like, oh, is this her talking to me? Is she using some sort of telepathy spell?
Alright, so you breathe forth the lightning, and you hear a laugh in your mind. A deep, brooding laugh.
Don't like that.
But you did hear something shuffle over there.
Like in the cone?
Yeah, in the cone.
Did it look like lightning struck anything, or could I not tell?
You couldn't tell.
Okay. Garish. I'm going to back up one space. Oops. Get off draw. And your turn. She's over here somewhere, and I'll gesture in front of me.
Hold that thought.
Oh.
She's going to take an attack of opportunity on you.
Oh, she was right in front of me.
With advantage, because you did not know where she was. I believe a 25 hits you.
It most certainly does.
Let's go ahead and take 5 points of slashing damage. And in your head, the blow was not severe, but there are these pinpricks inside your mind that cause you to wince and kind of close your eyes in a throbbing pain inside your psyche as you take 9 more points of psychic damage.
Jeez. And here's my saving throw for Dragon's Breath. This is concentration.
Hold on, I'm not done.
Well, I assume I had to take it each time.
Yeah, and then take 2 more points of cold damage, and you maintain your Dragon's Breath. Let me go ahead and put a concentration marker on you.
I'm hellish rebuking that super hard.
Say DC 14. Dexterity save. Oh, first number, 17. So she makes her save. She's going to go ahead and take some fire damage. I think I did my math right there. There we go. Yeah, you're not rolling real high on the damage front, but you did score a good Hellish Rebuke against her. And bring us to Garish.
Who's boss?
I'm saved and possibly halved from resistance.
What was that?
I'm just musing about whether she has resistance or not.
I don't think Dragonborn have elemental resistance. I'm not sure, actually.
You could make a history check, Garish? You know that Dragonborn do have resistances, and it usually is based on the color of their scales. So, with blue, you'd think that she would probably be resistant to electricity.
Oops.
But other than that, it seems like she's taken all of the blows as anyone else would.
I'm going to step up here. And Horde Breaker. There it is.
Unfortunately, 12 just misses. As you swing wide, she parries it with the glowing blade in her hands. Come on, you can do better than that.
I know.
Anything else you'd like to do?
Nope.
Okay, that'll bring us back to 2's turn. I think. Okay. She is going to move here. And then you watch as, with her offhand keeping you at bay with the sword, she reaches up and touches her chest, and there is a kind of sickly greenish glow that pours out of her hand and into her body. She casts Cure Wounds at 3rd level. Restores some HP. But right now, she's just kind of holding steady, hoping to heal off some of the damage you guys have done. Bring us back to Mekleresh.
Okay. Seeing as how she took a lot more damage from magic missile than she did from just laughing off my lightning breath.
And so you have no idea how much damage she took from that, because she was invisible when you hit her with it.
No, but it didn't seem like she cared too much, considering her demeanor. I'm
Garish could indicate.
You could. I was hoping you might. Are you gonna tell Mekleresh that lightning is not useful?
Yeah.
Okay. Definitely casting magic missiles.
Good. You fire off the barrage of magic missiles, again sinking several solid hits into her. However, there's a torrent of hellfire that bursts from her body, leaps around Garish, and I need you to give me a dexterity saving throw.
She has a lot of spell slots.
So take 21 points of fire damage, halved to 10 because of your resistance.
I am hurting.
But you did strike her and do a good amount of damage with your magic missile.
Yay!
Anything else you'd like to do?
I'm going to move over here and get cover behind the statue.
Garish, it is your action.
Does administering a healing potion take an action?
It does.
If
Administering or drinking.
if you administer a potion to someone else, it is your action. If you imbibe one yourself, it is a bonus action.
Oh, I literally just looked it up. Must be your rule.
Yeah. The reason why you guys can drink them as a bonus action is because there's only two of you.
Rewind and then drink a healing potion real quick, because I would have done that if I had known.
Yeah, you can drink a healing potion. That's fine.
And it's 2d4 plus 2.
Back 7 hit points.
Yay! Almost dying.
It is Garish's turn.
I'm going to try to jab a javelin into her eye.
Okay, go ahead and make a attack roll with your javelin. Unfortunately, the 14 does not hit as you spin the javelin out of your pack and try to thrust it down. She manages to dodge just to the side enough that those shadows that are kind of surrounding her, and almost like armor-like chitin that is formed out of shadows, grabs the javelin and thrusts it down to the side, just barely missing the mark.
I am going to action surge and attempt to grapple.
Okay, you can make an athletics check. She'll contest. Left number. So, yeah, you successfully grab a hold of her. We just set that to normal, not advantage. And take it you would not like to move.
Yeah.
Okay. So that will bring us to her turn. She is going to attempt to... Interesting thought. What do you do when you get grabbed? She is resisting you as you grab onto her and hold her. However, you hear this piercing cacophony of sounds in your mind that aren't translated by the ring, but are just kind of like these horrifying wails inside of your mind as she's going to cast a vicious mockery. Go ahead and make a wisdom saving throw. Take 5 points of psychic damage, and you have disadvantage on your next attack roll before the end of your next turn. As just simply holding her there is sending this assault into your mind. But she does not break out, so Meclaresh, it is your action.
Okay. Thinking magic missile is probably my best option still. I'm going to... How healthy does she appear to be?
You can make a medicine check. A 15? I mean, she's taken a couple of hits. She doesn't look like she's at full strength, but she seems surprisingly resilient.
Okay, just another full force.
Dear God. It's another 20 points of force damage. Or 10 force and 10 radiant. Alright. Yeah, the missiles blast out and smash into her. You drink another healing potion? I assume you might have muted yourself. Did my Discord crash?
Test.
Oh, how about now?
I can hear you.
Okay.
Can
Hello?
you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you guys.
Yeah, I definitely. I drank my other healing potion.
Okay, great. Okay. You bring us back to Garish's turn.
Can you bring a grappled opponent into prone?
Yeah. It'll be
Would
it'll be another contested check, but yeah.
would that be separate from an attack roll?
Yeah, it would be another athletics check. Would not be an attack roll.
Okay, I'll do that.
Just barely hedging her out with your superior strength, you manage to pin her down on the ground. However, you are both prone now. But you still have her grappled.
And I would like to use second wind.
Okay. Yeah, so go ahead and roll a d10. Okay. Yeah, go ahead. So you get back 8 hit points. And I assume that's it for your turn?
Yes.
Okay. On her turn, the sword that you are kind of on top of at the moment glows with a brilliant flash of this kind of whitish energy that surges up her arm and through to her other arm, and she tries to grab onto your face with her now glowing hand. What is 6? And you just barely manage to shove her off before there is this pulse of energy that fires out right point blank right next to you. And that's going to be it for her. Yeah. She's struggling and thrashing against you, trying to get you off. And bring us to Mekleresh.
Hey, I'm gonna move over here so I get a better, block her from accessing the tower if I can. Actually, probably closer to here. And we're gonna use magic missile in a second level spell slot.
Sure, go for it.
So we only have it set up to roll for first level, so I have to do the extra 1d4 manually. Well, 1d4 plus 1d4. So I guess just 2d4.
Yeah. Jesus fucking Christ, those rolls though. Nothing but 3s and 4s the whole fucking fight.
Hey, there's a 1 in there.
How would you like to do this?
Non-lethally.
It's too late for that.
Yeah, shoot. I forgot to make your medicine check. Well, since they're grappling, how would you describe their positions? Like, are they side by side? Is Garish on top, pinning her down?
Garish has one of his knees on her arm with the sword, and his other hand, one of his hands is pushed on her chest, and the other hand just slapped away her hand that tried to reach up at his face. So he's kind of like on her chest as she's thrashing, trying to get him off.
Okay, so, are going to sort of cascade in, one at a time. So, like, the first missile is going to hit her hand that came up to hit Garish's face. Then the second missile is going to come and puncture her elbow. The third missile is going to hit her in the shoulder. And the fourth missile is going to come straight in at her chest towards her heart.
Jesus Christ. So, with the cacophony of explosions and the splatter of gore that splatters out from the blow, there is a cry of horrified pain that emanates from her. And in her last heaving breath, she says, "Not like this. I'm sorry." And she collapses.
Okay, I kind of just assumed she was 2. I would like to take this time to make sure she is actually 2.
Before you have the chance to take a step forward, a chill wind suddenly blows through the air.
Oh.
The light from the statue almost grows dimmer and dimmer, almost leaving this area in a pitch blackness. The lanterns that were still on the horizon are now gone. It is just black all around you. This small bit of light emanating from the statue is the only thing illuminating the area. And the air just feels like it dropped about 10 degrees. Garish, you hear a word spoken. Failure is what is translated in your mind. But this large guttural groan emanates from 2 and begins to spill outwards. Give me a strength saving throw, Garish. You are pushed back 10 feet by an eruption of her body. As there is this kind of spray of viscera, and her bones and belongings are scattered. The sword flies off and lands softly in the grass to the side. The rest of her belongings are left kind of just strewn and thrown about the area. As I need to get a token. As from the body of 2 arises a figure, mostly translucent, in her same form, but with void white eyes, that looks around and then lets out an ear-splitting howl into the air. Garish, it is your action.
I am going to approach and attack with my silvered short sword.
Go for it. Your swing rings true and slices into the creature, whatever this thing may be. However, the blow against any other creature would have been far more devastating. But as you pull the sword back, you watch as the wound closes slightly from the impact. So you still did damage, just not as much as you thought you would. Anything else you'd like to do?
No.
Bring us to the Twisted Remains of Two's turn. The ghastly figure reaches forward and tries to touch your chest. And just barely does not make contact with you as you jump back, afraid of what this thing might do. Small tendrils of white were beginning to be pulled from your body as you jump back away from it. It is immediately going to turn and dash at Mekhlaresh. And Mekhlaresh, it's your turn.
Oh, yay! Okay, it's right up in my grill. First of all, oh jeez, I don't want to touch it. We're just gonna use Magic Missile as a first level spell again.
Go for it.
Because it seems to be doing a good job. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, the missiles slam into it, and they seem to be fairly effective. The figure recoils at the blasts of force that are pumped into it, however, still in pursuit of its prey.
Okay, and I'm going to shift away.
It's going to make an attack of opportunity.
Isn't like
there
shift
is no
disengage?
such thing as 5 foot step in 5th edition.
Really?
If you move out of its attack range, it is going to attack you.
Then I won't. I thought like disengage was still a thing.
You can, but disengaging is an action.
Oh, it's an action. Okay. Then we're just gonna move over to here as close to Garish as we can.
Sure. Bring us to Garish's turn.
Horde breaker time.
All right. How would you like to finish it off?
I would like to send it flying into the statue.
You grab Hordebreaker out of your pack, swing it around in a huge arc, and slam it into the side of this creature. And it reels from the impact, going back about 5 feet, and then just shattering into shadows, sending an unearthly wail that slowly dims as the light slowly comes back. You can see the lantern slowly drifting off in the on the far horizon above the trees. Whatever that was, it's gone now.
As soon as the sound is gone, I'm going to slump down. I'd just be like, oh, that was scary. Well, we didn't get any answers from 2, but maybe we'll find something in her goo. And I'll be like the piles of viscera that are just, I assume, like a little bit here, a little bit there.
Oh, they're like everywhere.
Some over there.
Yeah.
Yeah. How big of a radius did she explode in?
You're covered in gore, and you were about 20 feet away.
Oh, yeah. I was going to say, I was like 20, 30 feet away.
Yeah.
Okay.
Small bits of gore.
It's going to take a second for us to, like, dig through her stuff.
I will say, immediately you see some sort of a backpack and then the sword are the 2 immediate things that you recognize right away. But
okay,
she exploded,
but her backpack didn't.
She was definitely carrying other things. Yeah, she kind of exploded like outward out of her body.
Okay, we'll still like try and take a look around for like stuff she might have in her pockets and whatnot.
Sure, make an investigation check. With a 17, and what little light there is in the area, kind of poking through and looking around, you find bits of cloth that are in brush and bushes. But you do see a metallic or a sheen. And you go over towards where you see the sheen, and there is a pendant. It sort of looks like it has an eye in the center, and like tendrils that go down and hook a kind of a green gemstone with another eye inside, and a silvered chain.
What sort of does it remind me of something draconic or maybe something otherworldly or?
It sort of looks like otherworldly. Garish, as you are standing over and looking at the body proper, you notice there was a book that was hooked to her belt. And occasionally she would she would run her hand across it before she would cast her spells. That book has turned to ash. It's slowly turning to ash as you stand over the body.
Can I see if I can make anything out of it before it disappears?
Reaching down and opening it up, you see that there are letters shifting on the page, almost like a black scrawl that slowly crawls across the page. The book itself was a dark leather bound tome, and you can see bits of chain that are kind of falling off the tome as it slowly begins to turn to ash, and the chains themselves are also kind of smoking and turning to ash as well. But whatever the language this is written in, the fact that it's moving makes it completely indecipherable. And it'll be gone in about 5 minutes.
I'm going to try to commit to memory what the text sort of looks like.
Sure. No problem. I would say if you're looking at the entire book in its entirety, you do notice there is a crimson orb within an eye, like a serpent-like slit in the front of the book that almost has a glassy feel to it.
Can I try to remove that?
It does not. It is affixed into the cover. You can try to remove it. Go ahead and make a. I would say just go ahead and make a dexterity check to try to get the eye out. You reach and grab with your nails, and you find a small bit of it where you can pull it out. And as you pull it out, the eye slowly begins to turn to ash in your hands, and your hand just breaks away from the eye as the entire thing is slowly turning to ash. But now looking at this, if you saw that kind of scrawl again that was slowly shifting, you would definitely know to think back to this.
I'm gonna make a light rock just so I can see a little better.
Sure.
Yeah.
And kind of looking over the area, you just see like spattered sprays of gore. You see Garish messing with a book. You see the discarded blade laying in the grass, still kind of glowing with that kind of purplish white glow.
I'd like to come over and take a look at the book too, if I can, and just make like an Arcana check on it.
Sure, go ahead and make an Arcana check. With a 14, you have no idea what this thing is, but you do see that it is turning to ash over time.
I'm assuming I don't recognize anything inside it as well.
No, it's just black, strange, crawling black script. On pages almost half of the book is now gone because you did take the time to investigate and to find the amulet.
Yes. Well, wouldn't be able to make much note of it anyway.
But yeah, there's just the You found the amulet. There's the backpack that Garish is standing next to, and then the blade that was tossed into the grass.
I guess we'll dig through her backpack and see what's there. I assume Garish is going to want to take a look at the blade.
Yeah.
Sure. You flip open the backpack and look inside, and it's just darkness. There's nothing in it. It's it's like a void. Looking into the void.
Oh.
Even with your little rock.
I'm going to begin to cast Identify on it while Garish does his thing.
Sure. Are you going to cast that as a ritual spell, or are you going to cast it
as a ritual?
Okay,
I'm at
so,
a first level
yeah,
spell
so
slot.
it'll take 10 minutes. Well, 11 minutes. Yeah. So, Garish, you go over to the grass. The blade is laying there.
I pick it up.
Kind of feeling it in your hand, examining it. It, it. it is of extraordinary make. The blade gleams and glows with that kind of violet and white light that kind of spills off of it and kind of creates these like plumes of energy that dissipate in the air away from the blade. Of course, there is the scabbard next to Mekleresh that I'm sure you would have grabbed before you walked over to it. That seems to fit the blade in it. Whatever.
I make some sort of.
Go ahead.
Can I make some sort of history check on warlocks?
Yeah, you can make a history check on. Well, wait. What do you want to know specifically about them? What are you trying to glean?
Generally, how they're viewed, but also if I recognize, like, the Covenant or something.
I would say you could make an Arcana check. You can make history, but you'll get different information. It's up to you.
I'll go with Arcana.
Okay. I mean, it was obvious to you by the way that she was fighting that whatever the powers she was casting weren't only from her. She was obviously drawing that kind of dark power from somewhere else. With the shadowy chitinous armor that reminded you of Mekleresh's armor that she casts, as well as the way that the cantrip that she threw out that pulled you towards her was very unusual. You could definitely tell that she worshipped something dark, but you have no idea what it could have been. You just
go on.
I would say even with a 5, you know that warlocks tend to it's like making a deal with the devil. But what she made a deal with, you have no idea.
Then I'm just going to poke around with my Moon Touch rapier while Mekleresh does the ritual.
I assume I'm probably going to offer to identify sword for you once I'm done looking at this weird backpack.
As you kind of poke around, you don't see anything else of note. Just viscera, scattered clothes. You find a boot in one of the bushes. However, Mekleresh, your spell comes to an end. There is a brief light blue glow that glazes over your eyes as the spell finishes. You are now the proud owner of a handy haversack.
Ooh. Is there a way to tell what's in the haversack?
It's all on the item card.
Yeah, it just says retrieving a specific item requires an action, but it doesn't say there's any way to determine what's in it.
Like I said, it's all on the item card.
Yeah, so
Read all the item card.
yeah, like I'm
What you're
saying,
asking for is toward the bottom.
okay, yeah, I'm gonna turn it inside out.
As you
There it
turn
is.
it inside out, coins spill out of the bag. Hundreds of coins. Hundreds of coins continue to spill out of the bag until there are thousands of coins piled up in a pretty sizable pile. Silver, gold, scattered pieces of platinum all over the ground where you have upside down into the bag.
I'm assuming it's very sparkly because of my light rock.
Yeah, and Garish's rapier.
Yeah, Garish is a little further away, but yeah,
You know, there are
I'm just like,
thousands of coins in this pile.
Garish, we're rich.
If that belongs to her.
You also see mixed in with the pile are several would appear to be gemstones,
Oh,
as
I
well as
don't
a
see any.
rather sizable diamond that is the last thing that falls out of the bag onto the pile.
I don't see any. There's literally nothing in here but money. There's no food, no journal, no indication that it belongs to anyone else.
That's
Like,
it.
yeah. Uh, rather than just leave it as a big pile for anyone to see, I'm gonna start shoveling it back into the handy haversack for now
It takes some
to count at a
time
later
because
time.
there's a lot of it. It seems like most of it is silver and copper, but there's a lot of freaking money there.
I said, we'll divide this back up at the inn.
Eventually, you do get all of the coins back inside the haversack.
Hey, do you want me to identify that blade for you?
Yeah.
You
You
sit,
sit down for another round of identification.
you sit and concentrate, and eventually, your spell comes to an end, and you have identified Void, Tribute of the End. For anyone watching, I will show the item card right here.
It seems pretty crazy.
What does versatile mean again?
It can be one-handed or two-handed.
Despite the dark implications of the blade, you do not feel that it has any type of malevolence to it.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. I'm gonna pass the blade back to Garish and be like, this is pretty crazy sword. You look like you got an upgrade.
Anything else?
How does casting with a weapon work?
It's as if you casted the spell.
So it's just an action.
Mm-hmm. If the spell is an action, it is an action. And if you choose to attune to this one, I will add all the spells to your character sheet. I think you would have noticed there was a faint glow to the amulet as well.
Oh, yeah, I would like to identify the amulet as well then.
Yeah. If you guys sit out here in the viscera and gore for half an hour, you identified the amulet.
Surely nothing bad will happen if those lanterns turn out to be replaced by illusions.
Yeah, it's clearly nothing in the tower that's been watching us for half an hour. Ooh, that's a pretty cool amulet. Does that retroactively affect my hit points if I were to
Yes.
wear it?
Yes, it does.
That seems pretty good. Garrus, do you mind if I take the amulet? I'll hold it up and jingle it a little bit. I don't know if I can wear 2 amulets, though.
You can. They just both take up attunement slots.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't mind.
Cool. Cool. I'll make note of Amulet of Health.
Throw that on McClarish's sheet.
And I'm
I
just carrying
assume
the
that
haversack for now.
I assume that Garish takes sword.
Yeah.
And then McClarish has your haversack.
Do we want to... I know we've just been sitting here casting and stuff, but should we take a short rest and then look inside the tower?
Yes.
Alright. I'm going to use my arcane recovery feature
Sure.
for resting, as well as 2 hit dice.
The two of you take some time, lick your wounds, bandage what you can, try to bolster yourselves up as you stay away from the corpse explosion that happened. Kind of finding yourself a moment's peace. You can hear the crowd in the distance slowly murmuring faintly as you're quite far away, but there's still quite a few people watching the lanterns. And you find yourselves watching the lanterns as well, slowly floating off in the distance, hovering above the lake. Not getting past a certain height. Some go higher than others and some lower than others, but for the most part, they're kind of hovering above the lake, which is directly to your west.
I was not expecting to find 2. I'm just going to say that to Garish and be like, wow, we got lucky.
We don't have many answers, though.
No, sorry. I didn't realize she was so close to exploding. I'll just sort of gesture around us.
It may have been a failsafe anyway.
Perhaps. It would have been nice to try and get some info, though. She called me her friend. She spoke in my head. Did she do that to you?
She wasn't really speaking.
Oh, she said words I could understand. She said I thought we were friends. I don't think I've ever met her before. We just know what she did in Briarton.
She hasn't been that friendly.
No, she most certainly was not that friendly. I'm gonna try not to read into that too much. Well, I'm going to be like, well, let's take a look inside this tower and see what was so important that she had to get here.
In front of you are two large wooden double doors, heavily reinforced with a built into the door iron lock. Two large, like rings that you would pull the doors open with.
I'm gonna check to see if it's locked.
When you pull on the rings, the doors do not move.
All right, I'm gonna take my mystery key, and we're gonna try and unlock this door.
Go ahead and roll a d20. Mystery key does not work in the lock.
Stupid key, you're useless.
Is the door locked?
It felt locked. I couldn't open it.
It's locked.
Garish will knock.
A loud, ringing knock echoes through the stone building. You don't hear any kind of response. The tower goes up maybe 4 stories above you.
Can I try and look for a key in the puddles of viscera?
You guys were pretty thorough with your search. You didn't find anything.
Dang. Geez, do we want to try and break in?
I'll poke around the out-of-place statue.
Looking around the statue, it's exactly as I described it. Large maul, the head of the maul pointed on the ground. Sitting there in kind of a reverent pose. Now that you're closer to it, you notice the statue of the man himself is not particularly well kept, but the stone maul that he holds in his hands is exquisitely carved, down to the finest minute detail. If it wasn't made of stone, you would swear it was real. The wood in the shaft, you can see each individual grain of the wood go up. You can see knots in the faux wooden shaft, as well as the small braids of the fake twine that tie the head around the shaft. All made of stone. But the statue itself looks fairly weathered, and it seems like it might have had a lot more striking features in bygone days, but most of them have been worn away.
I'm going to poke the head of them all.
It's stone. It doesn't give or move in any way.
Say there's nothing noteworthy about the pedestal it's standing on. There's no inscriptions or...
There's carved runes around the dais, but they seem mostly decorational, kind of like a mirroring pattern of runes. There's no inscription, there's no plaque.
I'm gonna pat Hordebreaker and say, I thought malls were the key to everything.
Well, they could be, and I'll gesture to the door. How are you for a round of smashy?
I'm sure there are people who wouldn't appreciate that.
Well, if we want answers to what 2 is doing, this is where she was headed. Unless you can think of another way in. Are there any,
I would say,
windows?
upon hearing that, Garish, you can make an insight check.
Upon hearing what?
Meckler is saying this is where she was heading. Based on the way she was moving, it did not seem that she was heading here. It seemed like she was just fleeing and trying to get away. And you all were gaining ground. knowing what you know about combat and the combats you've been involved in, and you know that the best thing to do is when an adversary is chasing you, if you cannot lose them and they are gaining ground, is to find a more defensible position.
I'm just gonna check around the back then.
Is there like any windows or anything that like look like we could reach them?
You see windows 3 stories up, maybe 25 feet up the building. Garish, as you walk around the sides of the building, you notice that the building is very well maintained. Very thick stonework around the base. Looking up, you do see that kind of almost bell tower like opening at the top that had the brazier in it. But nothing else seems to catch your attention.
Are there any other entrances?
No, just the one.
Thinking.
Were any of the gems in the haversack big or heavy looking?
Most of them are pretty small. The only one that was kind of more noteworthy than the other small gems that were in the bag, I'm saying small gems, maybe like an inch across, maybe half an inch wide, would have been the diamond, which would maybe be 2 inches tall.
I'm gonna ask my flourish to retrieve the diamond just in case the bag is close to bursting.
Okay, yeah, I'll retrieve the diamond. As a note, how high are these? Like in feet, how high are these windows?
They're about 25 feet up.
And Garish, what is your strength modifier?
4.
4. Yeah, dang it. Can't quite jump that high with a high jump if I cast jump on you.
We
It's a
might
shame.
have what we need to build the ladder.
Yeah, we could try and build a ladder or like a grappling hook.
As a note about the jump spell, it's not modifier, it's score.
So you'd use 18.
Oh, it's just what the description of high jump. It's you leap into the air a number of feet equal to 3 plus your strength modifier if you lose at least 10 feet on the ground immediately
That
before you jump.
and that's a theoretically, if you cast jump on Garish, Garish could make the jump because it would be 7. It would be 21 plus Garish's height.
Oh, right. So Garish could reach up. Yeah, I was I was thinking like I was in a physics class where you just assume nothing has mass or volume. Yeah,
Like you add.
I'm gonna cast jump on Garish and be like, hop on up there.
Wahoo!
Yeah, you take a running jump and you kick off the sides of the stone and you leap up into the air. Reaching your hand up, you grab the ledge and pull yourself up with very little resistance because of your high athletics and strength score. And you find yourself in a small room. You see a table over in a corner, wooden stairs that lead upwards, and stone stairs that lead downwards.
I'm going to jump again.
You're gonna jump up the stairs.
No, just to get another look.
No, you
Oh,
yeah, like you're in the window.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, like you grabbed onto the windowsill and pulled yourself up. Like you're like on the sill.
Is it an open window or is it like a glass pane?
It's a wooden window. It was the only one that was open, but there are windows all along the sides.
So I would be able to hop inside.
Yeah,
I'll do that.
yeah. You hop inside. There's a small table, chair, stone stairs leading down, wooden stairs leading up.
I'm going to try to open the doors from the inside.
Heading down the stairs, you go through another level. You see a small bed that's neatly made, along with another table. A small candle sits on this one. A stack of neatly stacked papers on top of that. Don't have anything on them. They're blank. They're just like blank sheets, as well as a inkwell and a quill laying next to them. Making your way further down to the bottom, you see a kind of like a latch mechanism that you can turn to disengage the lock on the actual doors. But in the room proper, there's only some wall sconces on the wall that aren't lit.
I'll go straight to the door.
Sure. You can pull the mechanism over to the side with a satisfying click. The doors kind of give a little, so you can tell that it's unlocked.
I'll hear the click and open the door and come inside. Bring my little light rock.
Lighting up the interior, it's a warm stone interior. Inside this area, there's only the two sconces. That's it. Pretty bare, plain landing. The building is tall, but it is not wide.
I guess I'll slowly look around the rooms and try and see if I see anything of note.
Sure, make a
Just
perception
looking
check.
for info. Nothing for like. Not trying to take anything.
Yeah.
Sorry, what was that? Investigation?
Perception.
Perception.
You're just kind of like glancing around. I mean, other than what I've already noted, nothing really seems to stand out. You don't notice anything out of the ordinary, as far as an abandoned building in the woods that is well maintained. It doesn't look like anyone lives here. It appears like this building has purpose of some kind.
Those stack of papers were just blank, I assume?
Yeah. Heading up to the second floor, you see a stack of neatly stacked parchment. Not super high quality, yellowing along some of the edges. In fact, the right hand side of the pages appear to have gotten water on them at some point, so they're all kind of like a little wobbly. But when you kind of flip through them, they're blank.
I guess we go up to the third floor.
Going back up to the floor, the Garish entered. You see the open window where Garish entered, as well as another table, chair that are kind of next to the window. So if you're sitting in the chair, you can look out the window. You get a good view of the lights that are kind of slowly swaying in the breeze above the river. River? Lake. Lake.
Lake is just a fat river.
Yeah. Very
Yep.
fat river.
Very stagnant.
And I guess we go up to the fourth and final floor?
The fourth floor has more windows, though these are smaller. And you kind of see that the walls kind of have a V shape that leads towards these windows that are very thin slits in the wall.
Like arrow slits?
Yeah, but going out. So the wall kind of like has a curvature to it towards these slits. As well, in this room, you see there's a rack with several crossbows that are hung up on it. Some have seen better days, but some seem to be decently maintained.
Seems like this is a defense outpost for the town that they don't really keep manned. Not sure why, but I don't know if we should poke around here too much longer.
Are there any crossbow bolts?
Yeah, there's a couple of different small wooden boxes that are laying nearby that you kind of like jostle them and you can hear the sound of metal clanking on metal inside.
I'll take 2 bolts.
Yeah, go ahead and take 2 bolts.
I'm ready to leave.
Okay, we should probably lock the door when we leave somehow.
I already know how to do that.
But you can only lock it from the inside.
I'll just crawl out the window again after you leave.
Okay. I'll go out the door, wait for Garish to jump 25 feet to the ground.
Your jump spell is gone.
Yeah, it only lasts a minute.
So Michael, as you step outside. I assume that Garish locks the door.
Yes.
Okay. You head back out to the 3rd floor. Look down. It was a lot easier coming up than it is going to be going down.
Are there any bushes nearby?
There's a bush nearby. It's also near the stones. If you angled and jumped, you'd be able to land in the grass, which might soften your blow.
I'm going to toss a heap of rope on the ground in the general area I'm going to jump to.
Okay.
And I'm going to jump on that.
Okay, go ahead and make an acrobatics or athletics check, your choice. Dang it. I have to delete that from the video. Go ahead and take 3 points of bludgeoning damage. As you hit hard, but the landing is cushioned. But you are now prone outside the tower.
How does hit dice get calculated again?
It's your level, is how many hit dice you have.
I mean, how much it restores.
It's based on your class. So, like, I roll a d6 because I'm a wizard. You have like a d8.
You roll d10.
And there's nothing you add to that?
No, just that's the straight number. That's how much you heal.
Okay.
There might be some weird barbarian thing that lets you add your con modifier, but
Mechlaresh, as you watch Garish plummet down to the ground, out of the corner of your eye, down the path that the proper path that leads down here, you can see lanterns kind of swaying. Pretty far down the path, maybe like 400 feet, coming from
people lantern.
Yeah, people lanterns.
Okay, I'm going to extinguish my light rock and go over to Garish and be like, "We got company."
It's pretty far down the path. And they're not moving at a super hurried pace.
I'm gonna help them up and be like, "Do we explain what all this is?" And I'll gesture vaguely at all the goo.
I think that'd be best.
Okay. I'll reignite my light rock and stand not in the center of the pile of goo, and I'm gonna like try and clean myself up as much as I can because we're clearly, we probably tracked it all over the tower.
You did.
Oops.
It's just locking the door to be polite. Don't mind if anyone knows who's in there.
You did steal 2 crossbow bolts.
As a note, looking at each other, you are covered in blood.
Yeah.
It is
Definitely
all
gotta
over.
clean up the lake before we go back to town.
Some of it is starting to dry, but you are covered in blood.
How far away are they? Like, how long do you think they'll be?
You probably have maybe like 5 minutes till I get here, but I'm moving at a super fast pace.
I'm gonna at least wash all the blood off my face with
The
my hands.
the lake itself is about like a
I thought there
hundred.
was a dock next to the tower that led to the lake.
There is, but it's tower, woods, lake,
Okay.
or yeah, with the dock. So the dock is near the tower, but the tower is still in the woods, and
Then I'm just going to use my.
probably like 200 feet away to get to where the water is. You can see the lake from here, at least like the black shimmer and the reflection of the lights.
I'm going to use my water skin to just like splash some water on my face and try and get as much of the blood off as I can.
Okay, go ahead and make a. What kind of roll would that be?
I was just thinking that.
Survival.
You could make, yeah, I'd say you can make a survival check to try to clean. With a 14 and using very little water, I mean, you're not making a lot of headway,
Yeah.
and you're spending a lot of time doing this.
I'm just trying not to look like a crazed murder hobo.
Cherish doesn't care.
Yeah, I know.
The lights are slowly moving closer. Maybe 3 minutes away by this point. Now you can see figures walking closer toward you, and the reflection of armor in the moonlight.
Does it appear to be the same sort of armor from before?
Kind of looks like guards.
Okay, we haven't done anything wrong. Hopefully. I guess we just wait.
Give me 1 second. Eventually, two guardsmen, both carrying lanterns, chatting with each other, break through the break in the trees into the circular field that surrounds the statue near the tower. When they take notice of you, one of them holds their lantern up towards the two of you. Who goes there?
Light rock still, so we're illuminated.
And he still holds the lantern up.
Yep.
Yellow.
The one
Hi.
that did not address you reaches for his weapon. Stay where you are.
Okay.
One turns the other. They slowly creep forward. Both of them holding onto their weapons. One guard turns his light towards the viscera that is sprayed everywhere and sees a boot hanging in a bush. He immediately draws his weapon. The other one does the same. Stay right there.
Sorry?
And you can now move.
I didn't quite hear that.
You can move.
What did they say?
Stay right there.
Okay, I'm just gonna hold my hands up.
All right. Nice and easy. You're coming with us.
Okay, how do you want to do this?
We were going to report this anyway.
There's no protests from either of you. The two guardsmen in tow, ask you to disarm.
Yeah, I'll give them my staff, the dagger of spite, and the short sword I have on me.
I'm going to create a pile of weapons.
Dear God. As you create the pile of weapons, one of them has put his sword away and has pulled a crossbow out, and has it pointed near the two of you, but not on you, not trained on you. The other one goes to the tower, slides a key in, opens it, looks inside, turns back at the two of you, looks inside, goes inside, and then slowly begins to pull all of your equipment that you've relinquished and puts it inside the tower. And he closes the door, locks it. All right. On you go. He gestures. You continue down the path the two came from.
Yeah. We'll follow.
Put you guys back on the default screen. The two of you are escorted in the night by the two guardsmen. Neither one of them says anything. One of them kind of looks pale and green in the face.
My light rock would wear out during the middle of the walk.
That's fine. They have lanterns.
I would say I just want to warn them that like the spell that I used was going to wear out, so that they're not like, "Whoa, what was that?"
They continue to escort you into the city and to a very familiar building to the two of you, where you had a lovely chat with the captain of the guard. They bring you inside the building. And by this point, you've kind of gathered an entourage of guards, and as they've passed by post and post, more and more guards are put on you until you have about 5 men following you and ushering you inside. One of the two guardsmen that originally apprehended the two of you goes over to the desk, says something in hushed tones to the receptionist, who then hands him a ring of keys, and they usher you into the back.
We're going to prison.
Eventually, you're led into a stone-bricked room with large wrought iron bars. The guard slides the key into the lock. With a click, it opens, swings open, and he gestures for you to go inside.
So when I'll walk in, and while I'm walking in, I'm gonna be like, "So when do we get to talk to someone?"
In the morning,
Okay.
if you're lucky.
We're not the bad guys here.
One guard kind of looks at the other. Then you'll have no problem staying here tonight.
Alrighty.
Garish goes over to a wall, leans against it, and takes a nap.
I'm gonna ask for some like water to wash all the blood and stuff off me.
The guard looks at you, squints a little,
Oh,
and he nods as he closes and locks the door to your cell. And that's where we'll pick up next time.